Welcome to Wrestling Court, Guilty as Hell. Today, we're dragging Hulk Hogan, the walking, talking, fake-tanned disaster, into the hot seat. The guy who made wrestling a spectacle, then turned every locker room into a toxic swamp full of broken dreams and bruised egos. Hogan wasn't just a star, he was a backstage cancer with a god complex and a monopoly on being a colossal pain in the ass. Creative control? More like creative chokehold on anyone dumb enough to think they deserved a chance. If you weren't Hogan, you were a target, buried so deep it'd take a fucking archaeologist to dig you out. He treated every locker room like his personal playground, where he was king and everyone else was just collateral damage. Promising young wrestlers, dead in the water, charismatic performers, benched. Anyone who got close to stealing his spotlight, shoved into the dirt faster than you can say leg drop. And don't get me started on the ego. It wasn't just big, it was a goddamn black hole that sucked the life out of everything around it. Behind the cheesy catchphrases and yellow and red spandex was a guy who made sure no one else got a shot while he was cashing checks and trademarking brother like it was the last word on earth. So buckle the fuck up, because tonight we're ripping apart the myth of Hulk Hogan and exposing the backstage bastard who made wrestling's golden era feel like a fucking hostage crisis. Backstage politics in wrestling are usually a cesspool of jealousy and bullshit. But Hulk Hogan turned that cesspool into his own personal swamp of control and ego. This guy didn't just play the game, he owned it. And by owned it, I mean he strangled anyone with talent who got close to the spotlight until they either quit, got buried, or developed a drinking problem. Creative control, that's Hogan speak for I'm the only motherfucker allowed to shine. If your name wasn't Hogan, you were dead in the water. Guys who could actually wrestle, Hogan sent them straight to career Siberia with the subtlety of a gorilla in a china shop. If Hogan didn't like your face, your push was dead. No exceptions, no mercy. Remember when Hogan jumped to WCW? Suddenly the young wrestlers who were about to explode onto the scene got shoved so far down the card they needed a GPS just to find the ring. Hogan wasn't just protecting his spot, he was killing off any competition like a jealous, orange-tanned pissant with a leg drop. The locker room? Less a team, more like a hostage situation where Hogan was the asshole holding all the guns and calling the shots. Secret backroom meetings, whisper campaigns, and passive-aggressive bullshit so thick it could be cut with a dull butter knife. Bottom line, Hogan's backstage politicking was first-degree career murder, and the bodies are still rotting in wrestling history. If there was a crime scene, Hogan's fingerprints would be all over it, right next to the fake tan stains and shitty catchphrases. Let's not sugarcoat it. Hulk Hogan didn't just stall young talent, he tried to commit full-blown career homicide. If a rising star had a little buzz, a little heat, or worse, the potential to be bigger than him, Hogan would hit the panic button faster than you can say, brother, and then came the political leg drop, right to the throat. He didn't mentor young guys, he smothered them with a smile. If you had charisma, energy, or a shot at stealing his spotlight, you were dead in the water. You'd show up with a rocket strapped to your back, and Hogan would cut the fuse, dump it in a swamp, and pretend like he was helping. Remember Goldberg? Dude was tearing through the roster like a wrecking ball. Hogan took one look and said, "Not on my watch." Goldberg went from monster to malfunction in record time, because heaven forbid someone else looked strong while Hogan was still flexing like it was 1987. And WCW wasn't even the start. Hogan's fingerprints are on more buried pushes than creative ever dared to admit. Guys like Billy Kidman, who was getting hot, Hogan buried him in a promo so badly it looked like bullying. Zack Ryder got over on his own in WWE years later, and Hogan tweeted support after the guy already got iced. Classic Hogan. Show up late and act like the hero right after he helped burn down the building. The man was allergic to sharing the spotlight. You could be the next big thing, but if Hogan didn't give the thumbs up, forget it. You were stuck opening shows wondering why the immortal guy was still main eventing with knees made of chalk. Let's call it what it was. Attempted murder of potential. Hulk didn't build the future. He beat it down, brother. Now we arrive at one of Hulk Hogan's greatest crimes against wrestling, the Hogan Clause. A toxic little contract perk that let him override anything he didn't like. Booking? Nope. Finishes? Forget it. Pushing someone who wasn't named Hogan? Not unless hell froze over and Vince McMahon took a vow of silence. Creative control sounds harmless, until you realize Hogan treated it like a loaded weapon pointed at the heads of bookers, writers, and especially other wrestlers. This wasn't a say in the storylines kind of deal. This was full-on rewrite the script to protect my ego chaos. And he used it more recklessly than a toddler with fireworks. Hogan was out here passing out creative control like it was Halloween candy, except the only one trick-or-treating was him, and the only one getting screwed was everyone else in the locker room. Hell, WCW gave Kevin Nash and Scott Hall their own clauses, just to keep up with Hogan's nonsense. Soon, everyone was booking their own endings, and the entire show turned into a goddamn choose-your-own nightmare. Remember at Bash at the Beach in 2000? Hogan didn't like the finish, so he just walked out, changed it mid-show, cut a promo on Vince Russo, and left the company like a dramatic ex throwing plates in the kitchen. That wasn't wrestling. That was reality TV with tanning oil and a do-rag. Wrestling needs structure. It needs leadership. What it doesn't need is a 50-year-old man rewriting finishes because someone else was about to look good. Hogan took storytelling and turned it into self-glorifying chaos, booking matches like a narcissist scribbling fanfiction. Creative control wasn't a tool for Hogan, it was a damn weapon. He used it to dodge losses, rewrite endings, and keep the spotlight locked on his crusty bandana-wearing skull while the future of the company sat in catering. If WCW was Hogan's Hollywood era, then TNA was his midlife crisis in slow motion. By the time Hulk limped into Impact Wrestling in 2010, he looked like someone left a hot dog out in the sun and taught it how to cut promos. And somehow, this was the guy calling the creative shots. TNA had talent. AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, the X Division, legit stars ready to carry the future. Hogan waddled in and shoved them aside like they were blocking the tanning bed. What followed was a masterclass in how to kill momentum with the elegance of a car crash in a nursing home parking lot. He formed Immortal, a faction made entirely of ex-WCW fossils and contractually obligated painkillers. Hogan couldn't wrestle, couldn't move, and still hogged screen time like it was the last buffet on the cruise. Every promo was a sweaty Shakespearean tragedy in jorts. Worse, he booked himself into every major angle like a clingy ex who won't leave the party. TNA was trying to build a future, but Hogan turned it into a live-action retirement brochure. It wasn't just bad, it was indecent. A public exposure of creative bankruptcy. Viewers watched Hogan dry hump a wrestling company into a coma while calling it brotherly love, and the worst part? He probably thought he was saving it. Let's face it, Hulk Hogan wasn't the hero he sold you. He was more like the guy at the party pretending to be your buddy while stealing your wallet behind your back. This charge? It's about that sneaky, two-faced hustle, fraudulent impersonation of the clean-cut babyface, while actually playing dirty off-camera. The Hulkster made a career out of preaching training, prayers, and vitamins, but behind the curtain, he was injecting steroids like a mad scientist, stabbing young talent in the back, and spinning a web of lies thicker than his bleached mustache. Remember when he sued Gawker over that sex tape? Not to protect his dignity, but to bury the proof that behind that "what you gonna do, brother?" smile was a dude who held some seriously racist views and a backstage reputation dirtier than a mud match. Hogan's promos about honor and loyalty were the wrestling equivalent of a used car salesman quoting Shakespeare. He played the good guy on TV, but backstage he was booking himself like a mob boss doling out hits, except instead of bodies, he buried careers. Worst of all, the dude actually believes his own hype. To this day, he acts like he saved wrestling when really he was carrying a shovel, digging holes for every young star with the audacity to shine. This isn't just a gimmick, it's criminal. Fraudulent impersonation of a babyface with malicious intent. And that's Hogan's legacy, wrapped in red and yellow. Ladies and gentlemen of the wrestling world, after witnessing Hulk Hogan's heinous crimes against the squared circle, this court finds the man guilty beyond any reasonable doubt. The evidence is overwhelming. A lifetime of backstage politicking, career assassinations, unchecked creative control, embarrassing public meltdowns, and the ultimate fraud, pretending to be the good guy while playing chess with everyone's careers like a coked-up mobster. Hogan didn't just wreck talent, he crushed their momentum like a toddler stomping on Lego bricks, painful, relentless, and utterly unforgivable. His version of leadership was less Hulkamania and more Hulkamania-caused an injury, as he dry-humped TNA's last vestiges of credibility until it gasped its last ratings breath. And let's not forget the hypocrisy. Hogan's "what you gonna do, brother" was less a rallying cry and more a threat. What you gonna do when I sabotage your career and still get the biggest paycheck? This court hereby sentences Hulk Hogan to creative exile, forever banned from holding any meaningful backstage power or credible screen time. No more ego-fueled reigns, no more stalling the future stars, no more rewriting history to fit his orange-painted ego. From now on, Hogan's legacy will be a cautionary tale, a warning about what happens when one man's ego outweighs an entire locker room's talent. Case closed. Guilty as hell. If you love watching Hulk Hogan get roasted to a crisp and want more wrestling legends dragged through the mud, smash that like button like it's a steel chair to the back, and don't forget to subscribe. Because we're just getting started serving up guilty verdicts hotter than Hogan's spray tan. Hit that bell so you never miss when we bring the courtroom heat and roast the rest of wrestling's biggest backstage villains. Trust me, you won't want to miss it, because in this court, everyone's guilty as hell. Thanks for watching.